China struggles with COVID. The UN and Antony Blinken requested China to release COVID data. The US proposes a new defense act for Taiwan. The CCP is not impressed. The fears of many come true as TikTok misuses data to track journalists. China has rapidly been dismantling the key pillars of its zero-COVID policy, removing snap lockdowns, lengthy quarantines, and travel curbs, along with dismantling quarantine centers in a hurried attempt to satisfy the protesters who were protesting against the zero-COVID strategies. But in doing so, they forgot to ask themselves the question, should they reopen the country in such a hasty manner? Because as we see now, China was unprepared for such a step and the unplanned removal of the zero-COVID strategies, as millions of people are getting infected by the virus daily. Cities across China are struggling to cope with the virus. As the number of infected people is skyrocketing, pharmacies are struggling to keep their shelves stocked with fever and flu medication, which is made worse by the fact that the draconian policies were removed right at the beginning of the flu season. Hospitals are at capacity as people are having to share beds, and numerous infected people are being crammed into a single ward. Hospital morgues are running out of space to store bodies and have resorted to storing them in large freezers, with up to 20 to 30 bodies being stored in a single unit, and even then resorting to stacking bodies on the floor. To make matters worse, there appears to be a backlog at crematoriums and funeral homes. The predicament that China is in right now can be narrowed down to two main reasons. First, the vaccines that the citizens were given were subpar quality compared to the Western counterparts, with Sinovac having an efficacy rate of 51%, whereas the vaccine produced by Pfizer has an efficacy rate of 95%. Making matters worse, the CCP claims more than 80% of the populace is vaccinated, but only around 60% of the high-risk group has received the jab. But keep in mind that these are numbers published by the CCP, so they are bound to have some embellishment. The second major reason is China's healthcare system, which is extremely underfunded. Not just that, but most of the hospitals are located in major cities, so are not easily accessible to the masses. To fill this gap in the healthcare system, and to spread soft power within its borders and the rest of the world, the CCP has resorted to treating traditional Chinese medicine as an alternative to modern medicine, despite lacking the evidence to prove the effectiveness of TCM. Now that we understand why the Chinese people are suffering, let's see what the Chinese Communist Party has to say about it. The party claims that they are not able to track COVID cases, which I think is quite rich, because China has implemented mass surveillance for its citizens and was able to track the protesters and read their text messages and beat the protesters up in their homes. Do you mean to tell me that this government is not capable of tracking COVID cases without implementing mass testing? I call Newspeak the truth, in my opinion, if they don't want to share because this crucial information is in the party officials' minds. Saying they are struggling to contain the virus is equal to admitting defeat. And due to this attitude, they are letting millions of their citizens suffer and die. Zhang Wenhong, director of the National Center for Infectious Diseases, was quoted in Shanghai government-backed news outlet The Paper on Thursday as saying China is expected to reach the peak of infections within a week. He added, "The peak infection will also increase the rate of severe disease, which will have a certain impact on our entire medical resources." Also adding the wave will last 1 or 2 months after that, and all the citizens must be mentally prepared as getting infected is inevitable. Chinese state media Qingdao Daily reported that the virus was in the rapid transmission stage in the city of Qingdao, with 490,000 to 530,000 new daily infections, which is set to increase at a rate of 10% in the next couple of days. The Chinese government has also changed the criteria for COVID deaths, resulting in criticism from experts. Experts also believe that the number of infected people is higher than what the CCP is claiming. To which the WHO has requested China to release the actual data so other countries can be better prepared to deal with a future outbreak of COVID-19 or some other virus. I say the CCP could not be bothered to care about its citizens, which makes you think they'll care about other countries. Speaking at a news conference at the State Department, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Thursday emphasized the need for all countries, including China, to share information on their experience with COVID-19. Blinken said that Washington is ready to help all countries, but Beijing has not yet asked for any help. He also said, "It's also very important for all countries, including China, to focus on people getting vaccinated, making testing and treatment available, and more importantly, sharing information with the world about what they're experiencing," adding, "Again, because it has implications not just for China, but for the entire world. So we would like to see that happen. Although I think it's unlikely that China will ask for help from the United States, and the World Health Organization has received no data from China on new COVID-19 hospitalizations since Beijing lifted its zero-COVID policy, adding to speculation over the transparency of its figures. China is facing immense problems inside its borders, but when we move outside mainland China, the story doesn't get much better for it. U.S. passed a new defense authorization law that boosts military assistance for Taiwan, while Taipei cheered for it, as it helps boost the island's security. China expressed anger as it considers the democratically governed Taiwan as its territory. The new defense authorization law allows up to $10 billion in security assistance and fast-tracked weapons procurement for Taiwan. The bill also repealed a COVID-19 vaccination requirement for U.S. troops and also contained an amendment restricting the U.S. government's purchase of products using computer chips made by a group in China. The Chinese Foreign Ministry said that it'll cause serious damage to peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. This is a very important move toward Taiwan's security and to nullify the threat that is China, because it has never renounced using force to bring Taiwan under its control. Taiwan's defense ministry expressed its thanks for the U.S. legislation, saying it showed the importance Washington attached to Taiwan-U.S. ties and strengthening the island's security. Taiwan said, "Taipei will discuss the details of the act with Washington and gradually push forward the budget formulation and the actual disbursement of the various Taiwan-friendly provisions," without providing any further details or elaborating on the statement. Taiwan has a far smaller military compared to its neighbor China. The Air Force is under constant strain from scrambling jets repeatedly to see off Chinese incursions near the island for the past 3 years. The Chinese Foreign Ministry said, "The case ignores the facts to exaggerate a China threat, wantonly interferes in China's internal affairs, and attacks and smears the Chinese Communist Party, which are serious political provocations to China." They also called the new law a serious political provocation that blatantly interferes in China's internal affairs. It also added the United States must stop its old routine of unilateral bullying. Wang Yi, the Chinese foreign minister, accused the U.S. of suppressing development. Washington must pay attention to Beijing's legitimate concerns, he said, warning the U.S. against trying to challenge China's red lines using salami slicing tactics. And this is the projection of the highest order from the Chinese government, which thinks the world has to listen to everything that it to say, while it blatantly violates the sovereignty of not just Taiwan, but all of its neighbors from India to the countries that are in the South China Sea. While China violates the sovereignty of other nations, Chinese companies are busy violating its users' privacy. In a recent debacle, TikTok staff accessed data to track journalists. This extremely popular social media app is owned by Chinese tech giant ByteDance. And if you are not aware, ByteDance is based in China. This means that the Chinese government could, and most likely will, collect data from users, which is why the Indian government banned the app, stating that it is a security threat to its citizens. Before we go any further, I want you to know to what extent TikTok steals your data to hand it on a silver platter to the Chinese government, so you can make an educated decision on whether to use the app or not, depending on how much you value your privacy. TikTok installs browser trackers on your device. These tracks all your activities on the internet. According to ByteDance, these trackers were put in place to recognize and prevent malicious browser behavior. However, they also enabled TikTok to use fingerprinting techniques, which give users a unique ID. This enables TikTok to link data to user profiles in a very targeted way. A user on Reddit reverse-engineered the app to figure out more about it. The Redditor discovered that TikTok collects all kinds of information: your smartphone's hardware, other apps installed on your device, network information like IP, local IP, your router's MAC address, your device's MAC address, the name of your Wi-Fi network, whether your device was rooted/jailbroken, location data, keystroke patterns, and biometric information. Additionally, the app creates a local proxy server on your device, which is officially used for transcoding media. However, this is done without any form of authentication, making it susceptible to misuse. Moreover, the tracking of that information can be configured remotely. The app also didn't start using HTTPS protocol until recently, which meant user data wasn't safe in the first place. This leads me to believe that TikTok is nothing less than spyware disguised as a social media app. This conveniently brings me to my point. ByteDance employees accessed the data of two journalists, one of a former BuzzFeed reporter and the other a Financial Times reporter, to investigate links of company information earlier this year. The employees looked at journalists' IP addresses, attempting to learn if they were in the same location as employees suspected of leaking confidential information and potential connections between the two journalists. This disclosure comes at a time when TikTok is already in hot water with legislators and President Joe Biden's administration over security concerns about U.S. users' data, which led a spokesperson from TikTok to release a statement that the employees responsible have been let go and they were taking additional steps to protect user data. The spokesperson went on to say, "This misbehavior is unacceptable and not in line with our efforts across TikTok to earn the trust of our users. We take data security incredibly seriously, and we will continue to enhance our access protocols, which have already been significantly improved and hardened since this incident took place," which in my opinion is a PR attempt to convince countries like the United States not to ban it. Although the U.S. government passed legislation last week which bans federal employees from downloading TikTok on their government-owned devices. Not just that, a dozen of governors have banned state employees from using TikTok on their state-owned devices. While it remains to be seen what actions the U.S. legislators will take on TikTok, if the actions are negative, it can spell disaster for the company, as this will lead to many other countries to follow suit, and the Chinese government will lose a valuable spyware. Well, that's it for today. If you liked the video and want to see more like it, be sure to press the subscribe button and ring the notifications while you are at it to stay updated on news pertaining to China. If you enjoyed the video, please press the like button and share the video. It helps us with the algorithm. And if you have any inputs or criticism, let us know in the comment section below. Until next time, thank you for watching and goodbye.